let's get to this. So, the Browns come out with a proposal for the stadium, right? Financial proposal, how they're going to pay for it. And I'm a guy that likes to think outside of the box a little bit. I like to think about, the levers that are being pushed and pulled in order to get things done. And as I sit here and as I watch the whole situation with the Brookpark move, I really feel like this is more of a bigger national type. It's bigger than just a stadium. And to me, this is about the redistribution of wealth in America. And I'm going to tell a little story here. We got a little time, so hang in, follow along with me, and I'm going to tie it together because a lot of times y'all be, G. Bush, what are you talking about? We're going to tie this in together. So let's go ahead and talk about this. Let's first throw up what the tax plan is, but first and foremost, let's go ahead and listen to Jason Lloyd. We talked about this on UCSS and his thoughts on the way the Browns are going about funding this particular project, the stadium in Brookpark.
First of all, nobody rents cars anymore. Facts. So why are we doing? I don't love some of those projections and totals. First of all, nobody rents cars anymore. Facts. So why are we doing $6 increase on rental cars when Uber and Lyft have taken over? I mean, people still rent cars, but go ask Hertz and Avis how many of their fleets they've sold off in recent years because people just don't rent cars anymore. And you're dealing with a lot of projections there on hotel rooms, on the bed tax, on that sort of thing. The admission tax is fine. That goes to people that are using the facilities. I personally still am a proponent for DeWine's plan. I like what Mike DeWine rolled out, where it was taxing gambling money. I wrote about this 2 years ago. When gambling was first legalized in Ohio, the tax rate was 10%, and I said increase it to 13 or 15%, use that 3 to 5% to fund all of these facilities across the state. And DeWine went way further than that, which I love. And they've already, since I wrote that, initially they've increased it from 10 to 20. They've already doubled it. He wants to double it 50, again, right? To 40. He wants 40. To take it to 40. 20 to 40%,
and that's on the gambling companies, not the consumer, right?
That's on the gambling companies. Now the companies will probably find a way to pass it on to the bettors, but still, you're taxing the people that are actually using the facility. Ohioans spent over $8 billion in gambling last year. That was the handle in Ohio. In November alone, it was over $1 billion placed on sports bets in the state of Ohio. Ohio's like 5th in sports gambling.
We got degenerates, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, obviously, it's who you would think is at the top. It's Nevada, it's New York, it's New Jersey, Pennsylvania are all clearly ahead of Ohio, and then Michigan and Ohio are pretty close in the gambling. But this is where, to me, this is where it's at. And DeWine's already getting a lot of pushback on it from both legislatures, and the Haslam's seemed to push it to the side yesterday. They want to see more information on it. I think it makes perfect sense. I think that's the route to go. I like that much more. And Mike's right. Mike DeWine told Cleveland.com that he wants to use real cash and not bonds to pay for it. And I think that's right, because if the bonds fall short, you're talking about projections. Like, you're projecting this amount of money. Well, guess what happens when those projections fall short? It falls on the public.
Shout out to Jason Lloyd. He did a really good job of breaking that down a little bit. So let's look at what the Haslams and the financial organization has put forward. So what the Browns want from the Brookpark in Cuyahoga County, and we'll read this. As for the local share, the Browns are proposing that the county issue $600 million in bonds with county sources covering payments for $178 million of the borrowing of the Brookpark sources covering the remaining $422 million. Here's how they would propose to do it. There's an increase in the bed tax from 6.5% to 7.5%, with the new money earmarked for the stadium. The county's bed tax on hotel rooms was last increased from 5.5% to 6.5% in 2019 to free up money, in part for Progressive Field, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and the induction ceremonies. A county authorized fee of $6 per rental car. And Jason kind of talked about this. Guys, people aren't renting cars like that anymore. you go to Hertz or, Avis or wherever to go. Those guys are selling off their car fleets because of Uber and Lyft, some of those different places that offer more economical ways to get around, especially when you're talking about in airports in a larger major city. So a $6 rental fee was county authorized. This is what they're proposing, like the bed tax that Browns say this spreads out the cost to visitors to the region instead of it falling mostly on the Cuyahoga County residents, increasing the Brookpark emission tax from 3.5% to 6.5%. This will be the largest contribution from Brookpark, and the Browns point out a user tax. So people who use the facility, they will be taxed at that rate. Money from the Brookpark parking tax. Some 12,000 to 13,000 parking spaces are planned for the stadium. And diversion back to the project city income taxes generated from players, staff, and other workers. Now, really quickly, let's go over what it is that Mike DeWine wants in terms of how to play for these. And Jason alluded to this. Basically, he wants to use the funding from gambling, which, has been raking in billions since gambling became legal in Ohio. Ohio Governor Mike DeWine announced his plan to fund Ohio sports stadiums ahead of his budget bill. It will promise funding to Cleveland Browns owners Jimmy Haslam, and Haslam desperately searched for. Governor DeWine proposed a House Bill 96, an executive budget for the 2026-2027 fiscal year. Legislation plans to create a sports facility construction and sports education fund. The funds would be generated by doubling the state's tax on sports gambling. The proposal estimates of the fund would grow by $130 to $180 million annually. The fund would help finance major sports facilities and professional sports facilities that would need at least $100 million in renovations or $1 billion for new construction. It also allows for additional mixed-use development projects. Teams must commit to playing most of their home games at the location for at least 30 years. So the Haslam Group seeks up to 60% of public funding from the Brookpark Stadium project. The mixed-use project would feature hotels, stores, restaurants, and a domed stadium. And the park is expected to cost $2.4 billion. The organization has been in early stages of a legal fight of the team, announced with moving from the lakefront in Cleveland, using all of his legal power to keep the team playing inside the city limits. The team is determined to play in Brookpark. Governor DeWine's budget could help smooth things out over the Haslam family and to keep the Browns in Ohio. The legislation could help a lot of sports franchises stay in Ohio. The bill will need to be passed by the Ohio House and the Senate for it to take place. Now, here's to give you a little bit of if it goes to the House. Now, Mike DeWine is a Republican. I believe the Ohio House and the Ohio Senate is Republican owned or Republican majority. I believe the city is mainly Democratic leadership. So if this thing does go to a vote, I'm willing to be wagered that Jimmy Haslam will come out on top on this one. Actually, to be truthful, I think this thing is totally inevitable. I think this is a foregone conclusion, and it got me to thinking about something. As we talk about this, it got me to thinking about this, fellas, guys, ladies and gentlemen, that this is more than what is meets the eye. This is more than just about the stadium and moving it. One of the things that dawned on me is this is a new reallocation and redistribution of wealth in America. If you go back to the COVID, right? You go back to COVID. One of the things that happened where, people got evicted, people got foreclosed, and there was multiple institutions that came in and bought up all the land. They bought up all the housing. And, people's net worth went through the roof during COVID because they capitalized on the chaos in the market. And one thing that I've always been fascinated with in America is the abandoned malls, abandoned places, and different things like that. And Ohio has a disproportionate share of abandoned malls. You take a look at Chapel Hill, you take a look at Randall Park Mall, Rolling Acres, Tower City, the Galleria, all of these places that are just ghost towns where just 20 years ago they were piping full of people and it was vibrant. And in a larger sense, shopping and real estate and commercial stuff has been on a decline. And so I found this podcast, and I think they're on to something. And I'll be able to tie this in. This is this is the PBD podcast. And I don't agree with everything he says, but I take a look at a lot of different podcasts to kind of formulate some of my ideas and just to keep myself in what's going on socially and what's going on economically. And he had a very interesting point in his podcast. His point was that commercial real estate may be a thing of the past. And commercial real estate is something that we all have dealt with because when COVID happened, we all went back home. And, now commercial real estate is going through one of the biggest crises in it's ever been, because now you have a bunch of people with these renovated office spaces that nobody will rent. You have people after COVID, shopping malls and different places where people would go. Now people can't, pay rent in the malls. Malls are foreclosing on mortgages. So now we're at a position where the commercial real estate market is going through a downturn. And when we get back, I'm going to tie this into how I think this thing plays, how this thing plays specifically for the Cleveland Browns, and why ultimately all of the regular people are the losers in this. So let's check this out. This is courtesy of the PBD podcast.
Decline during COVID.
Yeah.
But so commercial real estate, obviously there was a major decline during COVID.
Yeah.
But residential, major boom. Maybe what's the typical correlation and where is it at today is sort of more I'm at.
So so go to that story. That's actually a good story to go into. So like, for example, this one building we're looking at, right? This building in February of 2020, which is what? Right before COVID.
Yeah, the month before.
They spent $250 per square feet to upgrade a 300,000 square foot building. So how much is that? 250 times 300,000 is how much of an upgrade? The cost.
Oh my!
That's a $75 million investment to do upgrades. Okay,
And they did it right. It's a great building.
it's an incredible.
What's the building's price but before all this, Pat?
No, hang on. Let
it's
him
up there.
I interrupted.
I'll tell you,
Let him keep going.
it's a $90 million, let's
Gotcha.
say, building.
Okay.
They fixed this thing up, 300,000 square feet. Looks amazing, beautiful facility, gym. What do you call it? Cafeteria, all this stuff. It's just a ridiculous setup, right? The company's nearly a $4 billion company. To them, $75 million, it is money, but it's not like we got to make the upgrades.
Timing is important.
Yeah,
They really screwed
that's
that
the
one up.
problem.
Yep.
So you signed a contract and COVID hits.
Oh, God.
Now everybody's working from home. Now when you go into this facility and you look at the entire building, half the building is empty.
Yeah.
People have been working from home during COVID. They're sitting there saying, what the hell do we do with this building? We want to get this thing off our balance sheet. They don't want this building, nor do they need this building.
Yeah.
Okay, with where they're at. And somebody bought them out, some $16, $17 billion company bought this building out, and they're sitting there saying, what do we do now? This is case study that's happening right now. And by the way, this has happened across the board. There's another building here down the street, 200,000 square foot building, okay, office space. Just 3 years ago, it was rented 90%, so 200,000 square feet was rented 90%, okay? It's the Kaplan building. It's a Kaplan, Kaplan School.
I've seen it, yeah.
That's their headquarters. Today, it's pretty much empty. And when I tell you empty, I'm like, maybe it's rented 25, 50%. From 100%, 90% to now 25 to 50%, how are you collecting mortgage payments now? You're not. And this is in a market that's attracting businesses, meaning we're not talking about San Francisco right here, this building right here.
Wow.
193,000 square foot building, okay? We're not talking about a, San Francisco or Chicago or New York or any of those markets. Cream of the crop, Florida, that people are moving to, empty buildings, Class A, beautiful buildings, sitting empty. There's only one, the Malls of America. Yeah,
right.
There's only one of that. It's a very big investment for them to make. Some of them, it depends on the market you're in. Is it going to work? Is it not going to work? but the business model is going away. So the business model of commercial real estate may be going away unless if companies find ways to get people. Like for me, I'm always going to be an in-office guy. I'm always going to be that guy. I'm running companies. I think culture, people got to be around each other, right, to do that. But we have the predictive, AI guys that are typically quiet guys that want to be by themselves. They don't have to be in a building. Yep. They actually don't want to be around a lot of other people sometimes. They have a different wiring on where they want to be. To that world, things are going to change a lot. So this commercial real estate deal on what direction it's going to go the next 6, 12, 18 months, it may be as permanent as newspapers. Just maybe.
So, listen, there's a lot to unpack there. And one of the things, and we'll get to it, the thesis, what I'm trying to say is, when you take a look at the way the trends are moving right now, a lot of malls and a lot of big infrastructure and commercial properties are vacant right now. Why? Malls lose anchor stores. The anchor stores are your Targets, your Walmarts, your Sears, places that people want to go, that draw in mass groups of people, and put your shop right by the Target and the anchor stores. Now you get walk up. Now you get a bunch of traffic generated by the people who want to go to your anchor stores. And when an anchor store goes out, guess what happens? Ain't no reason for me to go to the mall. The anchor store ain't there. You lose walk up. You can't pay for rent. Malls close. What the Haslam's realized was sports in the COVID era and sports moving forward past COVID, that is the only anchor that is not affected by the economy. Let me give you a point. The ultimate anchor store is the Cleveland Browns. Why? Because the Cleveland Browns are a religion. The Cleveland Browns are an institution. It's the only place where economics does not matter. If you are a diehard Cleveland Browns fan and you love the Browns, it's a religion. It is where you go to congregate. That is the new mall. The Browns games, the Muni Lot, that's the mall. As long as the Browns are the anchor, you will always spend money. So the Haslam's figured it out and said, listen, why don't we do this? Why do we want to be downtown where there's a bunch of abandoned buildings? There is, the thought of a homeless population, no other attractions besides the Cleveland Browns there. And we don't technically own any of that anyway. How's about we move it to the suburbs? We can eliminate the crime. We can eliminate the thought of poverty, and we can eliminate a bunch of things. We can get them to pay for it, and we own everything. We own the buildings. We own the stadium. We own we own the ground. We own the hotels. We own the restaurants, and we own that forever. My descendants would have this. And it's a trend in America. The trend in America is, as we continue to go on, the billionaires continue to get rich. They continue to, and they find new creative ways to do it. I think the PBD podcast hit on something. Commercial real estate is on the way out. No longer do you have different big buildings and big places where people are going to congregate and make people come back to work. That isn't it. Big office spaces that have been renovated, nice buildings, great buildings, nice office space, downtown, other places. Guess what? Why would the Haslam's want their shiny new stadium in a place with a bunch of abandoned buildings? And that brings me back to the point that I think the city does not understand. I think the city has a point, and they have a point to fight for the Cleveland Browns, because just like in malls, when you lose your anchor store, it's only you're on life support at that point. It's only a matter of time. The Guardians don't have a big enough draw to keep people downtown. The Cavs, bless their hearts, they're the best team in the city right now, but they do not have enough people, unless you got a LeBron, to keep people downtown and keep that money infused and keep bars and restaurants and all these things open. The Cleveland Browns are a holiday every single Sunday for 8 or 9 weeks during the year. They blocking the streets off. The people is ready to go. The muni lot is jumping. But if you lose that anchor store, you lose your Target, you lose your Walmart, your Sears, your Dillard's, the Macy's, you're done. Mayor Bibb understands that right now, today. And so when you look at it, it's not just the Cleveland Browns are moving. They've moved demographics on y'all. They done moved socioeconomics status on y'all. And what's going to happen to the regular fan is you'll be priced out just like it happens with all the rest of the big business in America. Capitalism is great until somebody with all the money figure out that, yeah, I can keep all of this. They're pricing the regular guys out. You'll never get a ticket. Ticket's $3,000, right? But that's the way they want it. Don't think that they want it to be affordable. No. They want the guy, the executives and the guys making $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, right? They want them to come down and they want the village to jump. And if you ain't got that type of money, they're gonna kind of make it kind of difficult for you to get down there. They want affluent people that are getting off at Hopkins Airport, staying at the Ritz-Carlton, and they're going to keep that as all, that's going to be one facility. That's going to be one beautiful area. They're going to, the hotels, they're going to have the amusement parks. They're going to have a whole Haslam family circus down there. But those dudes that's waving that brown and orange, y'all better get used to that YouTube TV. You ain't going to have the funds for that. And it's a shame because there was always an opportunity for them to do that in Cleveland. But unfortunately, people drag their feet. People don't create the infrastructure. And 9 times out of 10, most politicians just do a lot of talking, no action. You knew good and well that was an underpar stadium. You knew good and well that the Haslam's was going around buying up stuff. You knew what downtown looked like after COVID hit. Where's the redevelopment? Where you don't even have enough tax base to do a lot of this stuff. So my question to you is, are you one of those people that will continue to go to the new stadium? Do you have the resources to do so? And do you agree that this is going to end up pricing a lot of regular people out of an opportunity to still continue to go with the Browns? Because for me, I look at it economically. I think the new move is there's like 5 or 6 people that control 90% of the wealth in this country. And this is just another fact of where we are going. And it's just a product of the times that we live in. We'll get to it. Let's get to your comments. Let me scroll down here. We'll see what y'all got. I got a lot of comments in here, man. Let's get to the latest one. This is crazy. 1,500 people here, almost 1,600. Hit me the like button. Hit the like button for me. Hit the like button for me. There's so many in here. We're gonna get too many as I can. Master Moshi. Yep, they shifted the fan base. Let's see. Haslam's are trying to achieve something that Art Modell's was trying to do when he moved the team. I agree with that. The OU Ice is my hero. They need to convert some of those commercial to residential. I think that is the move. If you're talking economically, if you want to move from commercial, there's a lot of people with, the big malls and different places. They've been revitalizing those places as small community hubs. You see gyms, you see churches, you see residential areas. And I think Tremont is a great example of what they've done to kind of turn parking lots and undesirable neighborhoods, so to speak, into something that young professionals that are younger, that are professionals who work downtown, like. So Tremont is a perfect example of that. Let's see. Vincent says the stadium was the draw for the area, just like the ocean and surrounding destinations. I think, too, the biggest draw was the stadium. And when you didn't get that, they should have moved Burt Airport. They should have moved that a long time ago. But again, billionaires and the millionaires use that airport. But the way that highway is structured with the shoreline, it's just very difficult logistically to do some of that stuff. It just is, man. I got a super chat here. We appreciate your super chat. Sapper Daddy, what's up, my guy? Billionaires will always find ways that the common man to pay for their own business ventures. Hate it if you want. It is what it is. I think, and I think the thing with sports is that when this has become a religion, you could be mad at the billionaires and the millionaires, but guess what still happens? We still find a way at the end of the day to support those businesses because it's engraved in our DNA. And I think that owners take a big time advantage of that. Tony Soprano says AB should be fired ASAP. It'd be funny because people just be jumping in. The stream is long. Well, that's what I found out about the stream. The stream is so long that people are at different places and they just chat. So we appreciate you, man. And we want to thank you for taking time to listen to the barbershop. We got one more topic, but before we do, make sure if you're new to the channel, hit the like button for me. It's totally free. If you are on the barbershop YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, UCSS. I see you out there. Twitter, make sure you follow me. Facebook, shoot me a DM, follow me as well. So we appreciate you guys rocking and rolling with me.